Hi everyone, in this video let's take a quick look at Stripe checkout. We'll follow on with a few videos on how we can customize the Stripe checkout, but I thought it would be fun today to have a look at how you can create a client-only integration with the Stripe checkout. What this really means is if you are using Stripe checkout, you can use this by calling from the front end. There is no need to create any API routes, and this is really cool if you have all of your inventory and SKUs inside of Stripe. So let's take a look at how we can set this up. The first thing you'll need to do is once you are logged into Stripe is you'll need to go on into your settings for the checkout and you'll need to scroll down to this client only integration section. Inside of here, we will need to enable the client only integration. Now this warning pops up. Basically, all this is telling you is that your product IDs will be public. So if you've got an issue with that, then maybe this isn't the right integration for you, and this is something you do on the server side, which we'll have a look in another video. But we'll go ahead and allow this. I'm not too fussed about what this looks like. And then what we'll need to do is we'll need to customize the domains for our products and where we'll sell that. Now during development, the domain doesn't really matter. This can be redirected to and from anyway, like it's not important. So what we'll next do is inside of Stripe, we will create a product. I've already created one, but I would suggest you go ahead and create one inside of Stripe. Give it a name, you can upload a photo, you can give it a description, a price, and anything else. And then you can go ahead and create the price for that product. Now it's important to remember that with Stripe, you can have a product and it can have multiple prices attached to it. And this is really flexible. What we can do is once we've added one price, we could even add another price. And we can switch from all of these different pricing models that are available, and all of the information about what the pricing models are available obviously on the Stripe docs, and you can figure out how those work. You can also create one-time or recurring payments. So if you want to set up a subscription that somebody subscribes to, maybe in this case we have a lamp. Nobody's going to subscribe to purchasing a lamp unless you wanted a very lit home. But you could have a membership kind of solution here that you can allow users to kind of subscribe to. So that's really cool. Billing period, obviously with those subscriptions, you can set something up or you can go completely custom. And you can have metered usage as well. So there's a lot of flexibility within Stripe and the product and price APIs, but we'll not add anything additional here. We'll go ahead and cancel that. And as you can see, I have this price ID available. And this is what I need when I'm creating a Stripe checkout. Now I'm going to switch over to my code. And I'm using Next.js here. We have a simple index page that is important use state from React. It's important load Stripe from Stripe.js library. And then we are instantiating a Stripe promise here. Well, we're loading Stripe and outside of the render, then we're creating a page and we're exporting that page as the default. We have a few other things in here just for the sake of creating some simple and useful errors during development. And if you are exploring with this, I thought it would be fun to kind of show an error and prevent errors. So what we got here, obviously your implementation may vary. You could wrap this into some kind of reducer and reuse that functionality throughout your application. But here we just have a simple variable getter and setter for the Stripe error. So let's move on and have a look and see exactly what is going on here. And this is pretty much following Stripe's recommendations on how you would implement this button. So what we got is we have this handle click function. It's an asynchronous function. One of the first things that it does inside of here is it sets this variable loading to a true Boolean. And this is so we can disable the button further on down. If we have a look, we can see this button here is disabled when we are loading. And this is just useful so people don't hit that button more than once and multiple Stripe instances on kind of generate. There's not multiple sessions being created with Stripe checkout. Then we're awaiting that Stripe promise. So we will go ahead and kind of populate Stripe with that Stripe promise. And then on the next line, we will call the important Stripe.redirect to checkout. All of the API documentation with all of the different parameters here are available and the responses. This just returns an error for now. But that's the only thing. You can either get redirected or you will get an error back. And that's where, if there is an error, I'm kind of saying, we're not loading anymore, make that false, and then set stripe error to be that error. You may want to kind of parse that, strip things out if you do want the error being shown to the user, or you may track it in some kind of tool you're using. But I think one of the important things to remember now is when we call this redirect to checkout, one of the arguments is line items. These line items, these actually take a price and a quantity. And the price is a price ID, it's a string. You'll pass in the ID of the products, and I have this inside of my environment variable. And these environment variables are automatically injected inside of the Next.js application because it has the next public prefix on there. You could, if you really want to, you could just do that and that would still work. I've just used environment variables to make this really reusable, and I can spin up multiple pages. I can store my price IDs in the environment variables. Or you may get that environment variable from some kind of API that fetches your products, such as from a CMS, a PIM, or wherever. So yeah, that's what we need inside of line items. If you are using something on the server side, you may see this as well, but this won't take in price, it'll take in product data, and a few other things. So we'll explore that in another video. But it's important to remember, this quantity again is an integer. We could make this 2, we can make this 3, and this will be added to the Stripe checkout. Then we'll go ahead and set the mode to payment. There's other modes available that you can check on the documentation. Then we've got the important cancel and success URLs, and these are important. These are in fact required. We can see here what is required, and we can go down, we can see all of the other different types that are available. If we've got the customer email, we can go ahead and insert that email. So let's just put in hello@bob.com, and we'll see what happens here. When we get redirected to the checkout, hopefully that email should be sent along with it. So that is about it for redirecting to a Stripe checkout on the client. And it's important to remember that these price IDs are public. These will be shown in any network requests. So if you don't want to show that to your end user, then I would suggest looking at the server-side checkout option and creating a session that way. But let's proceed through and have a look here. What we're returning to the page is a simple error, if there is one. And then the button here is, it's calling that function handle click when you press it. And obviously it will show a disabled state if we are loading this here. If this function is running, this has to go and make an API request. When it's good, it will then redirect you. So obviously there could be a few milliseconds delay. Let's head on over and see what this looks like now. And we'll see here we've got this button. We click it, it goes into this disabled state very quickly. And then what we've got here is we've got 3 lamps. They are £75 each. We've got the image because that's coming from here. We've uploaded an image with our product, and then we can see the turquoise description has also been brought across. This is cool. We've got a checkout now, and if we fill this out, we can see we have the email already populated, and you can't override this if it's passed. Then we can pass in the Stripe credentials for the card, and this is 4242, etc., for a successful payment. And if you want to trigger 3D secure or strong customer authentication challenges, there's different card numbers on different situations, such as card expiry, etc., or just plain out declined, you've got no money. So let's just add in a random postcode there that I've made up, and we'll click pay, and we'll see what happens. This is processing. Then it's complete, and then you'll see it's gone to that thank you page. And that thank you page obviously was this here. I was getting the location, the origin of the location from the current window when that function was invoked. So that was just localhost 3000. But it's important to remember in production, you'll need to go down here and you will need to add in your domain here for where the checkout can live, be redirected to, and where it's kind of invoked. So, but in development, that doesn't really matter as far as I know. So what we got here is the thank you page. And if we go back to the index page, you'll see we've got that button again. and we'll go back. Now, if I click back here, this is going to go back to the cancel URL, which is just localhost 3000. So there's many other things we can do here. We can remove this. We can also specify the quantity back to 1, and then we can go to checkout, and we'll see now that we've got 1 lamp. No email provided. We can now pass in whatever email we need, and we can customize all that as well. In the next video, we'll have a look at how we can tweak some of the parameters to the redirect to checkout. We'll have a look at what some of these others do and what effect they have on the checkout.